How do muscles grow? A great question that was asked to me by one of my Max graduates. So let's have a look at this in a very simplistic way. First of all, a load is applied to the body. Either that is done deliberately by going to the gym and lifting up a weight to overload the muscle, or to stress the body so it can create some form of physiological change, or whether it not be deliberate because your occupation, maybe as a labourer, where you're exposed to heavy loads and stresses where your body has to adapt to that working environment. So first of all, you have a load applied, therefore to overcome the load, the body has to generate force within the muscle. Now that's all driven initially by the central nervous system, from the brain, the spinal cord and all the peripheral nerves that go out, and that via the motor nerve sends messages to the muscles to develop an amount of force that is greater than the load that it has to overcome. Now in that process, when the muscle contracts, where the actin filaments slide across the myosin filaments by the cross bridges that pull one filament across the other, that generates tension and stress. And it will do the job, or will do what it possibly can to do the job to overcome the load or get the job done or do the work. Now in that process, the body doesn't like stresses, so what it does, it tries to change itself or evolve itself or transform itself through a physiological process, so when it's exposed to that weight again, it's not so stressful, so it adapts. It's the progressive overload adaptation principle. So what it will do, it will generate that stress, will stimulate the endocrine system or the hormonal system that will release all your anabolic hormones such as testosterone and human growth hormone. And what that will do is that it will put the body into an anaerobic or anabolic environment where it will start to lay down muscle tissue. Now as you already know, a muscle belly is comprised of many hundreds of thousands of fibers, and each one of those fibers is comprised of proteins called actin and myosin filaments. So what the body does is with that stress, it activates what we call satellite cells, which are in the muscle fibers, and what that does is ignite the laydown of more proteins or more actin and myosin filaments. So the muscle fiber itself gets thicker because it's got more actin and myosin proteins, and they're active filaments that cause the actual contraction. So your body doesn't create more fibers, because to create more fibers you have to create more motor nerves to activate those fibers. But what it will do in the fibers that it does have, it will lay down more of the protein, actin and myosin filaments, and therefore the fiber is bigger, therefore there's more actual contractibility within the muscle, because they're more active sites of the actin and myosin pulling across one another. That will overall generate a greater amount of force, and that would be no cow poo, and it will also make you bigger by developing more muscle size.